Tonight, America's farmers aren't just bracing for another tough season. They're staring down the collapse of something far greater: trust. Not from weather, not from pests, but from within the system. We're not talking about a temporary slump. This is a slow, silent unraveling of one of America's proudest legacies: wheat. Once untouchable, U.S. wheat was the gold standard. From Tokyo to Paris, Manila to Mexico City, buyers lined up. It wasn't just a crop, it was a promise. Today, that promise is breaking. Quietly, no protests, no headlines. Just canceled contracts, unsold grain, and farmers lighting fire to their own fields. Let's begin where the cracks first appeared, in the Philippines. For years, they were one of our most loyal buyers, importing up to 3 million tons of wheat annually, 90% from the US. But in May 2025, everything changed. One of their top millers canceled 12,000 tons of US wheat. No explanation, no renegotiation. Days later, a contract was signed, 110,000 tons from Canada and Australia. US wheat was cheaper by $8 to $10 a ton, but that didn't matter. What mattered was trust. Internal memos labeled U.S. shipments high risk. Delays, policy disruptions, insurance issues. The product wasn't the problem. The system was. And so, the dominoes began to fall. In Kansas, North Dakota, Nebraska, grain inventories ballooned. Silos were bursting. Trains sat idle. And immigrant workers vital to harvests vanished under labor crackdowns. Some farmers, unable to sell or store, lit the match. Meanwhile, Philippine bakeries stayed stocked, just with Canadian and Australian flour. Bread prices rose when U.S. shipments failed. When Canadian wheat arrived on time, prices stabilized. No protest, no outrage, just quiet replacement. France was next. The land of baguettes and croissants long relied on U.S. hard wheat. For decades, American consistency powered European bread. But in 2025, that consistency fell apart. Shipments were late, certificates missing, chemical levels too high. Carbon scores failed EU regulations. Milling companies across Marseille and Rouen began signing with Canada. Some even returned to domestic wheat, despite poor harvests. Why? Because with U.S. wheat, they didn't know if the shipment would even arrive. In Kansas, co-ops paused expansion. Farmers with deep ties to France watched their markets disappear. Meanwhile, in Saskatchewan, Canada responded differently. Smart harvesters, instant moisture analysis, digitally tracked supply chains, contracts confirmed in hours, orders delivered in days. The bread in France didn't change. Only the supplier did. South Korea tightened standards. U.S. wheat often exceeded them. Canadian and Australian wheat came clean, pre-certified and fully traceable. By June, U.S. shipments were gone from Korean ports. Idaho and Washington state saw storage pile up. Farmers shifted to flax just to stay afloat. No press conference, no outrage, just silence. Then came Mexico. This one hurt more than the rest. A neighbor, a partner. One of our top 3 buyers, over 3 million tons a year. But in 2025, American wheat imports dropped 40%. Canada's rose 35%. Argentina entered the mix. Why? Red tape, tariffs, documentation inconsistencies. A single delayed shipment at the Texas border disrupted operations in Sonora. Canadian wheat arrived with perfect paperwork, no surprises. Mexico quietly turned north, just not to us. By mid-year, Canada's wheat exports to Mexico jumped 37%. Warehouses in Manitoba retooled for Mexican compliance. Meanwhile, blending plants in Texas shut down, orders vanished. And then came Italy, the cathedral of pasta, the stronghold of Durham wheat, once one of the biggest importers of American grain. Italy now sources nearly half from Canada. Why? Not because we failed, because Canada evolved. They built labs, improved elasticity in durum wheat, streamlined logistics. When Italian pasta makers ordered, they got exactly what they needed, on time, every time. In America, we adjusted tariffs. In Canada, they adjusted protein content. The result? US wheat disappeared from Italy's food chain, quietly. So, what does 2025 look like? Not a collapse, not a catastrophe, a quiet reshuffling. The Philippines, France, South Korea, Mexico, Italy. One by one, longtime buyers now work with someone else, and they all say the same thing. This is not about price, it's about trust. Canada isn't cheaper, it's more predictable. And in a world where risk runs everything, predictability is power. Can America win that trust back? Yes, but only with change. Not just price, but reliability, stability, clarity. Because the world doesn't just want good wheat, it wants a partner that delivers. And right now, Canada is showing up where we are not.